hello everyone from wherever you are joining us in the world. As Rochelle mentioned, I'm Karishma and I'm going to be presenting MapleLearn in today's session. So I know most of you are eager for me to kind of show you the product, and to be honest, I'm eager to do that as well. But for those of you who are new maybe to MapleLearn or to Maplesoft in general, I thought I'd kind of start off this webinar by just giving you a little bit of background. So why don't we do that? And as Rochelle mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. Nadia and Max can address any of them kind of as I'm doing this webinar, and then we can have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, let's start. So why Maplesoft? So Maplesoft has been providing mathematics software solutions for educators, engineers, researchers in a variety of disciplines. So science, technology, engineering, mathematics education for over 30 years. In fact, for those of you who don't know, Maplesoft started off as a research project from the University of Waterloo. And so we really are in touch and tied to the academic community. Maplesoft offers a variety of solutions for, when it comes to, I should say, teaching, a variety of solutions for remote learning, for teaching in the classroom, individual study. Basically, if you need to do math, regardless of where you are or the forum in which you're doing it, we have solutions for you. There's really 4 pillars that I think we are committed to when it comes to learning and understanding and succeeding at math and math-based courses. So 1, our goal is to really prepare students for the future. And we truly believe that math matters. And so we think it's important to arm students with knowledge, understanding, appreciation of mathematics that will take them into their careers, even if those careers are not math-based careers. We believe that we want students to enjoy math learning, so we want to improve student success and satisfaction. We work closely with educators, and Nadia can attest to this. I spend lots of time working with and speaking to educators to ensure that we are delivering tools that really empower them and help them bring mathematics to life. And additionally, we support cutting edge research. So a lot of students who decide to go into STEM continue to use Maplesoft products in order to push the boundaries of innovation. So that's my little introduction into Maplesoft and our background and our heritage. When it comes to academic and teaching and learning, we offer a variety of solutions. So we have the Maple Calculator. The Maple Calculator, we launched it about 3 years ago, and it's a free mobile app that is really geared to helping students perform or solve math problems. It's on their phone because students have told us that's the one device that they have with them all the time. And so I'll show you the Maple Calculator a little bit. I love it because you can take a picture of any math expression and it'll give you different results. It'll show you step-by-step solutions. It also acts as a graphing calculator. So we're finding that a lot of students are just using the calculator on their phone to visualize 2D and 3D expressions. We then have MapleLearn. So MapleLearn is the newest product in our suite of academic products. And it's focused exclusively on teaching and learning mathematics and math-based courses. So that is what this webinar is going to focus on today. It's really showing you MapleLearn. And one of the strengths of MapleLearn is really how you can take textbook content, static content, and make it engaging. And personally, I was a student who really struggled with understanding, what a particular concept, what it actually meant, what it meant by changing a parameter value. And I know in talking to educators, that problem still exists in the classroom. And so what we want to do in today's session is I'm going to show you some static examples coming straight from a textbook and show you how you can use MapleLearn to create interactive explorations. So Maple Learn is ideal for teachers and students starting from high school all the way up to the first, second year of university. And at that point, you go to Maple. So Maple is the product that we launched, over 30 years ago. It is the most powerful desktop software. It's used by NASA and Boeing, and there's an entire list of different companies that have used Maple products and Maple itself. And so Maple kind of allows you to do any type of mathematics that you can possibly imagine. So, you can do algebra, pre-calculus, all the way up to things like group theory, graph theory, solving Grosvenor bases. All of that is possible with Maple. And Maple has a rich programming language. So we have these 3 different products, and today I'm going to really focus on Maple Learn and Maple Calculator. So let's talk a little bit about Maple Learn. So I have a little video that you can see. So a few things to note. Maple Learn is this online environment that, as I mentioned before, designed specifically for teaching and learning math. With Maple Learn, you can get graphs automatically. As soon as you enter an expression, you can get a graph, you can have text and explanations, images, and you can have these interactive explorations. And all of this together kind of gives students, in my opinion, and based on what teachers have told us, a deeper understanding of what they're doing. Maple Learn also allows you to solve problems line by line, just as you would in a notebook, and it allows you to share your content with students. And not only that, students can share their content with each other. So if they're working on something and get stuck, don't know how to solve it, they're easily be able to share that with their study group. And I'll show you all of these different features when we get into the demonstration. So a few little other slides. What type of content can be created with Maple Learn? You can have lessons. So you can create things like, as I mentioned before, graphs and explanations. You can parameterize with the click of a button. Your documents can be easily shared. And what I love about Maple Learn, and as you'll see, is you can create these lessons, send them to your students. Your students can work on it. And at any point, they can click a button and it resets the document to how it was when you first shared with them. So students don't have to be afraid of accidentally deleting something or making a mistake. They're always able to get back to the content the way it was as you authored them. It's great for homework and exercises. So once you explain a lesson, you explain a concept, you create these interactive explorations. You can also then create documents for students to work on their own, so they can work through a problem step by step. It allows them to or identify mistakes. Again, it allows them to create graphs on their own to really make sure that they're understanding what's going on. And they can share their homework and their practice back with the instructor. Oh, and another thing is to practice a concept. So Maple Learn has built in to the product, and I'll show you, we have a document gallery with over 1,000 different types of lessons and examples and practice sheets that allow students to practice a concept and make sure they're really understanding it. So I'll show you that. But for now, I'm going to pause on the PowerPoint because I think the best way to see Maple Learn is to get into the product. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to share Maple Learn. So this is Maple Learn, and you can get to it by going to learn.maplesoft.com. So Maple Learn, there is a free tier. Anybody can use it. If you're curious on this webinar to dive in and kind of see what I'm doing, feel free to navigate to this website, learn.maplesoft.com. I'm accessing it through a Chrome browser. Maple Learn, in my experience, works best on a Chrome browser. Now, before we dive in, the whole point of this webinar was to show you how to bring static content to life. So I've gone ahead and found some content from OpenStax. Now, OpenStax has some great material, great textbooks, but ultimately it is a textbook. And so in this case, I found something from a calculus course and defining a derivative. And while the content in the OpenStax textbook might be different from the content that you might be using, it's very similar in terms of how it explains. So you'll see as I scroll through, it's very text heavy. there are images over here, and the student can read it. There's definitions, and there's a bunch of different example problems to work through. But what I find, and in talking to students that I tutor, as well as different educators, is sometimes all of this text, it sometimes hinders students from really understanding what's going on. They don't make the connection because it is very text heavy. And so one of the things I want to do in today's session is I'm going to take this particular topic. It's about, the formal definition of a derivative. It's going through tangent lines and secant lines, and show you how you can take this content and make it interactive in MapleLearn. And I'm going to do that. We're going to look at, let me find it, this particular example. So finding the equation of the line tangent to the graph, f of x equals x squared at x is equal to 3. So let me switch over to MapleLearn, and let me show you a few things. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's go ahead and write some text. So I'm going to click this, and what we're trying to do is we are going to find the equation of the line tangent to the graph of f of x equals x squared at x equals 3. And of course, then I can go ahead if I want to, and I can bold this. Now, Math and MapleLearn is organized into groups. And so here I have this group over here, and I can start doing some math. So here, what I'm going to do is, let's have an expression here. You have x. As soon as I type that, what I want you to notice is a curve automatically appears. So x, I can do x plus 10. It automatically updates. Can change this to ln of x. And so there is no need for an actual command. It just automatically generates. So in this example, we are going to do x squared. And we're going to assign this to a function, f of x. So f of x is equal to x squared. And we want to look at it at a point, let's call that a equals 3. So something else to point out here, as soon as I give a variable a numeric value, MapleLearn automatically generates a slider. And so in this case, this value is fixed. So I don't necessarily want the slider here. I can click on this quick actions light bulb over here, and I can disable the slider. So here it is. And just so we're really clear, I want to visualize this point. Well, MapleLearn has a bunch of different palettes up at the top. So I can go into this geometry palette and click on point, and it gives me the syntax in order to enter in a point. So a comma f of a. And my point is created on the plot over here. So here's the function, and here is the point at which we want to find the equation of the line, the tangent line. So something else. I'm going to go and click on my canvas, and it creates another group. So our function is f of x. Something that I want you to note is I didn't have to assign the value of x squared back to f of x. If it's defined in group 1, any group that comes after it automatically knows the value. This really saves you a lot of time as you're working through your document. You can just go ahead and use calculations, use results that were previously defined in a group. So here I have f of x is equal to x squared, and I'm going to go and we're going to say, I'm going to add some text. Now I'm going to add some text into my group. I'm going to say, consider 2 points on f of x equals a and x equals a plus h. So a we've already defined. So if I click it, type in a, it already knows that the value is 3. And let's go ahead and define h. So h, let's make that 3. So here, this little cog, I can click on it, and I can change the values of my slider. So let's go from -5 to 5. And I'm going to make this continuous. And you'll see as I move the slider, the value updates. Now we're not doing anything, and we'll get to that momentarily, but let's go ahead again for the sake of understanding. Let's go and look at these points. So again, I can use the geometry palette, insert a point. Now that I know the syntax, I can just write it in. Point, and we're going to have a comma f of a, and that's our point. And I can even assign this a value. So this is a, and I can go ahead and add a label to that. So let's add a label, a. So here's our point A over here. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for H. We're gonna have our point, and we're gonna have A plus H, F of A plus H. And here's my point. Let me move that so we can see it a little bit better. And I can add a label. So H, comma. Now, this might be a little bit, maybe not the best view. So I can go here and zoom into the plot. If I want to, I can zoom vertically or horizontally. I can even click this little cog over here, and I can change my plot settings. So let's go ahead and change those values to, let's say, -6, and I can tab through this. And let's go from -10 to, how about 80? I can click on that, and I can continue to adjust if I need to. So here we have it. And now let's start. First thing we want to do, let's explore the concept of secant lines and tangent lines, similar to what we saw in that OpenStax textbook page. So what is the slope of the secant line? So we can do that. Let me write it down. Slope of secant line. So M, I'm going to have secant colon equals to, and let's see, f of a plus h minus f of a. And notice how I'm typing this. MapleLearn is already doing the calculations. It's substituting in the values. I can go ahead. Let's divide this by a plus h minus a. So here it is. And now we want to actually visualize and see the secant line. So we can do that. So that would be m secant times plus f of a. So here it is. And notice now as I move my slider, the plot adjusts. So the secant line is changing. So now let's look at the tangent line. So we can look at the slope of the tangent line. So we'll type it in. Let me move down a little bit to give myself so you can see a little bit better. We'll go over here, and the slope of the tangent line, m tangent colon equals, and it's just the derivative at that point. So MapleLearn understands prime notation. So right away I did that, I got the result, and now I can go ahead and let's plot that line. Tangent, and it's going to be m tangent times x minus a plus f of a. So here's my tangent line. Here's my secant line in yellow. And you can see there's the color over here indicates which line that you're looking at. So it's a bit of a legend. So let's go ahead and we can move that. So now at this point, I think this is a great opportunity to, what are we observing? What is the concept that we want students to know? So what we want to do is I'm going to create another group, just double click, and let's type in our observation. So what we want them to note here is that decreasing the absolute value of h moves the point closer together, and this causes the secant line to more closely resemble the tangent line. So let's go ahead and write that. And so you don't have to watch me type. I'm just going to copy and paste this and put it in here. So this is what we want students to observe as they're exploring this. Now, something to note, you might be wondering, Why is it when I click here, I no longer get a plot? Well, this is intentional. The idea with this live plot view is it shows you all of the plots within the group. So if you're doing something and you're working through different examples, as you click through the different groups, you're gonna see a different set of expressions being plotted. But let's say for the case of this example, you want to have the plot in line as students are moving through the canvas. Well, that's easy to do as well. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to use the context panel over here and tell MapleLearn to give me an inline plot. So the curves we want are f of x. We want y secant. We want y tangent. And we want a and h over here. And what I'm going to do is click on this quick actions. I want to hide the result just to tidy up my document a little bit. In this example, we don't need it to be in the plot window, so I'm going to exclude this from the plot, and then I'm going to use the context panel, plot the expressions. And here I have my plot, so I can go at any point now, close the context panel. And again, as you're moving the slider, you're going to notice that things automatically update as expected. So here's the example. So now let's say our goal is, if you'll recall this particular example, really now they want to look at the formal definition of a limit. So, we have over here, there's two ways. So let f of x be a function defined on this open interval, the tangent line f of x at a, passing through the point a, f of a, having slope. This is the slope. And we can also find the slope using this equation. So let's go ahead and put those definitions into MapleLearn. So I can do that here. I'm going to create another group. And notice I can use the entire width of the canvas. I can go ahead and add those definitions. Again, for the sake of expediency, I'm going to copy and paste this in. So here we go. And so this is what we've seen over here. So now let's go ahead and use this example to actually prove that this in fact is true. So I'm going to, in this case, let's move this out of the way. I'm going to create a new group, and let's look now at the limit. So I can go to this functions palette over here. I have a template that allows me to insert a limit. So I'm going to click on this. And let's look at this first one. So limit of f of x as x approaches a, and we're going to type that out, f of x minus f of a all over x minus a is here. Now, the point of this document is not to get students to actually solve the limit. We can do that in another lesson. Here, I just want to illustrate the point that this in fact is true. So I can go back into expand the context panel, and you'll see over here, I have the ability to just get MapleLearn to give me the result. So I can say, evaluate the limit. And here's the limit, it's 6. And you'll see it corresponds, if I move back, to the slope that we found earlier, 6, and which is what we expect. And I can go and do it for this. So I'll just type that in. So here we have our limit. I can change this to h. And we have f of a, actually, let me do it within the same group. Here. Limit, because I want to show you something. H. So we have f of a plus h minus. So before I type that in, notice here that h, it's plugging in a value because h was defined, if you'll recall, in this group. And as I mentioned before, MapleLearn, it starts to use any value that was defined, it'll use it in subsequent groups. In this case, we want h to be symbolic. And there's many ways we could do this, but the way I find easiest is just to move this group up. So this becomes group 2. It doesn't know anything that was defined over here. And now I can continue typing. So minus f of a all over h. And assuming I've typed this in correctly, evaluate the limit, and we get the result 6. And so this is our document. I can go ahead, close the context panel, and we can see everything. And of course, now I can add more text. I can add images. I'll show you that in another document as we work through. But this is one of the things that I love. So as an instructor, as an educator, let's say you were in the classroom and you worked on this and you explained this with your students. I can click on this little share icon, and it will share a link to this particular document to the clipboard. Now I can go and share it with all of you. So I'm going to put this into the chat. So this is the document. I like to think of it as snapshot sharing. This is a snapshot of the document at the time that I clicked the share button. Now your students have it, you have it. So you can go ahead and click on that and you'll see the same thing. Now this actually acts as a bit of a template. So here I can tell my students, okay, let's not look at f of x at x squared. Let's change this to something else. Let's go ahead and change this. We want the graph of, in this case, 3x squared minus 4x plus 1, and we want to look at it at x is equal to 2. So your students can come and update this. 3, and notice that this live plot is changing as well. So we have 3x squared minus 4x plus 1, and we're looking at it at the point 2. And so everything has updated for you. So we can look at this, we can move this around as well, we can see. And something to note over here, you'll notice that the limit over here, there's this little orange, it's turned orange. And this is because we got the result as a result of using the context panel. If we click on this, it'll update the value and you'll see that it matches. At any point, you can reset the document to how it was. So if I go and reset this, oh, let me undo. So here we are. Let me take the document that I shared with you. So this is the document that I shared with you. Here's a link and I'll show it to you. This was the document that I shared. We can go and we can make changes. Let's say a student can make a change to it, and at any point they can reset the document and it goes back to how it was when it was first shared with them. So that's the first example that I wanted to kind of illustrate or talk about. Now there's other features with MapleLearn too that I think are really exciting, or other types of content, I should say. So notice here, this OpenStax document, there's a bunch of different examples. And if you scroll down, like all good textbooks, you'll have different sections, so different exercises that students can work through. Well, what I've done over here is we can go ahead and create something that has those exercises in. So a student can use it. And what I like about this is you can go and you can check your answer, you can try another one, and you can actually look at the solution. So as a student, I could go and send this. I'm going to share this with the group over here. So that's a link to this document. And a student, you could send this and say, hey, this is a template, use this to practice the concept. This time, what I really want you to focus on is solving the limit, making sure you know how to take the limit. So there's a number of ways that students can use this. Students can work directly in MapleLearn in order to step-by-step solve this problem, right? So, they might start typing and they'll say, okay, in this case, f of x equals 3x squared minus x plus 2. And then they can keep working. They can say, okay, what I need is the limit, and so on and so forth. But what I wanted to show you, which is a feature that students really love, is the ability to continue to work on a piece of paper in their notebook, but use the Maple calculator to take a picture of what they've done and bring it into Maple Learn. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly stop sharing my desktop, and I'm going to share my phone to illustrate this point. So if this works. So right now you should see my phone, and I'm going to go to the Maple calculator, and I'm going to click on that. And of course, the calculator is being a little bit shy, but you have a graphing calculator over here. So I can go in and type, let's say, sine of x, and I can get a plot plus, I can do cos of 100x. I can, of course, zoom in, zoom out. At any point, I can click this check mark, gives me different operations that I can perform on this expression. So I can differentiate it. I can click on the steps. Oops, I'm not logged into my premium, but you can click on the steps and you can see all of the different steps that you can get. Let me go back to the calculator, and I'm going to show you some things that we can do. So here I can do sine of x plus y, and take a picture. Automatically, it gives me to what we call the results screen. I can look at 3D plot. And it takes a moment to generate, but I can go and rotate this. I can click on the little button over here, and I can get a full screen view of that plot. Similarly, I can go and look at this system of equations, and I can solve the system, and I see the results. But what I wanted to show you for this webinar is, let me move some of my papers to my desk, is here's that problem, and I worked it all out. So I'm going to take a picture of this. This is my handwriting, and trust me, the calculator uses some powerful OCR technology. It recognizes really good, or really poor handwriting, I should say. So I'm going to take a picture of this. So now the calculator works on a single expression. Calculator really doesn't know what to do with this, but as long as I'm logged in to Maple calculator with the same credentials I'm used to log into Maple Learn, that automatically gets sent to Maple Learn, and I can import this into my document. So let me stop sharing my screen, and I will go to share my desktop again. So here we have this. So perform your work over here, and I can go in and I can click on this. And first thing, before I click on it, something to note is everything that I've taken a picture of or anything I've done is automatically available to me, the most recent things that I've done through this little cloud icon. So I'm going to click on that. Let me do this again. And here it's inputted everything for me. And so this is how I solved it. You know, if there was a little mistake, I can go ahead and update it. It didn't actually get the solution, so I can say in this case it's equal to 5, and I can use this template and write my answer, and I can check the answer. So it's correct, and if I ever wanted to, I could click on these buttons and say, okay, well, give me the formal definition, and it shows it for me. So this is something that we can do in Maple Learn, and there are thousands of different documents that you can use to help students practice and really master a concept. So let me show you that. I'm going to go and click on this hamburger menu. If you go to examples, click on see all examples. Over here, you'll see you get to this document gallery and you can scroll. One thing I want to point out is the how to use Maple Learn section. So the purpose of this webinar was to really show you how to bring your static content to life. It wasn't necessarily a training, so I know I've been going a bit fast, but if you are interested in kind of learning more about Maple Learn or want to learn how to do something, take a look at this how to use Maple Learn section. I'll go ahead and open this, and you can see there's tons of different content that you can use. And it shows you how to modify plot ranges, how to show special points, how to plot polar coordinates, so on and so forth. Take a look. Of course, you can always contact myself or Max or Nadia, and we could do a training session for you and your students, and that's not a problem. But this is a great resource. Let me go back here. The thing I wanted to show you is the derivatives collection. So if I type in derivatives, over here, takes a moment. So if we scroll down, this is a bunch of different content, but if I click on this derivatives collection, you'll see that we have lots of different documents over here when it comes to, explaining, learning the concept of derivatives. And you can look at these documents and it goes into, power rule and product rule and so on and so forth. And I wanted to show you a few of my favorites. So this is one we had with the formal definition of a derivative. Now we've created these documents. We have a group of content experts who have helped us create a lot of the documents that you see in the gallery. Other features of MapleLearn, it is a rich document environment, so you can have hyperlinks and it'll go to different Learn documents that you've created. This is the one with secant and tangent lines. What we have found is a lot of educators use these documents as a starting point, and then they change things in order to fit their needs, what they're doing in their particular lesson. In terms of different type of interactive practice problems or understanding a concept, here's one I like, product rule interactive. So I can go in and enter a function. Sine of x, cos of x. And notice here, it kind of talks about, well, how do you use the product rule? So first you have to calculate the derivative of each term, and then you substitute it in. And then of course, a student can use this. And then if you wanted to, they could always go to this practice document that we've created, and it gives them the ability to try another question and enter their answer and check their answer. And at any point, if they get stuck, they can share what they've done with their peer group, with their study group, or with their instructor or tutor. So that's a bit about the document gallery. Let me show you one other example. So here's another one. I picked something, again, out of OpenStax, and this is about kind of completing the square. And so this is really the way that they did it is how I learned completing the square back when I was a high school student many, many years ago. But one of the things I often look at, so I'll show you one example. Let me see. This is how I learned it, right? So step one, you isolate the variable, you find 1/2 times b all squared, you kind of add it to both sides, and then you go on and you solve. And this is how I learned it. And this is typically still, not everywhere, but how a lot of students still learn it. And one of the things I found, and it was up till really recently in working with teachers, is I realized that I was just following the steps, but I don't know if I had a true appreciation of, what I was doing. What did it mean to complete the square? And so one of the things that we created, and I did this in conjunction with an educator, was using algebra tiles to help explain this concept to students. So here I have a document that I created on completing the square using algebra tiles. Now, one question you might ask is, well, how did I get these algebra tiles into my MapleLearn document? And it's easy. All you do is, I'm going to create floating text box. Let's move this over. In MapleLearn, you can easily, again, you can make your documents very visually appealing. You can insert images. So I'm going to browse, and I created a folder of all my algebra tiles, and now I can go and enter them. So I put that in, and I can insert this, and here you have the x squared one. Similarly, I can go and back. Here's one. And now, of course, I don't want to go and do that for all of these. So what I can do is click this button, and it'll duplicate the group. In this case, it's duplicating picture, but it can duplicate any group. And so that's how I went and created these algebra tiles. So now that I have the algebra tiles, let's go ahead and use it. So I'm going to pick this example. I'm going to put it here. And if I click this little TT, I can convert this to map. So let's solve this using algebra tiles. So I need one x squared tile. And I can just move it. And the way I move it is I'm just clicking on this little T3 and dragging it into place. I need 4 X tiles. So let's create it here. I can duplicate it over here. Move it over. Similarly, oops. Move this. And you'll see. And we want 3 ones. So let me put this in 1, 2. And notice here, we're actually, this is what completing the squares is. This is what we're doing. And I find the visualization really helps and understand the steps. So we need to add another one in order to complete the square. And I'm going to take this one. And since I added one, I need to take one out. So what is the result? Over here, I can look at this and I can say, well, the result is x plus 2 squared minus 1. And I can always check my result a few different ways. One, we can open up this context panel. We can see just graphically that it is the same, the plot of the same expression. And we can also then click on this and I can say complete the square and it'll give me the result. So that's something else that I wanted to show in terms of what you could do with MapleLearn. And of course, if you go into the document gallery, you'll see other examples of practice problems within the topic of completing the square and other. So at this point, I'm going to bring us back to PowerPoint, and I want to conclude because I want to leave time for some questions. So we were here, if I was not mistaken. And just to kind of summarize some of the things that I've shown today. Oh, I lost my Zoom. 1 second. Here we go. So one of the things I've tried to show or cover in this webinar is how you can create your own content, specifically how you can insert text and math into your documents, how you can organize your content by group, how you can include interactive components such as sliders within your documents, how to insert 2D. We focused on 2D plots, but MapleLearn is capable of 3D plots as well as a bunch of different geometric primitives that you can use. And how you can add, change font, font colors, labels, annotations, and how you can do all of that. What you can do as well is you can use the existing content that I showed you in the MapleLearn document gallery and use that as a starting point to create your own documents, or if you like one as is, you can share that with your class. And the other thing that we offer is, if there's content in the Maple document gallery, let's say you can't find it or you want help customizing it, you can always send us an email. And we have, as I mentioned before, a team of content experts who can help you customize any of the documents that you see in the gallery. Or alternatively, if you have your own content that you would like to see converted into MapleLearn documents, send it to us and we'll be happy to create that for you. So that's something that we offer. Again, I'm really passionate about MapleLearn, and I just want to make sure that educators who see it are able to get moving quickly with using MapleLearn. Again, so I showed you lessons, exercises, practice sheets. We can help you create or tailor all of the content to meet your needs. And just a little bit overview about MapleLearn. I want to keep 15 minutes or so for a Q&A. So MapleLearn, we didn't touch upon this, but it's completely free for those of you who've clicked the links and gone in. So the basic version of MapleLearn is free. You can go and really use it as a scratch pad, do things, use the context panel, use the live plot features, go ahead and snapshot share content. However, if using MapleLearn is something that you've seen it, you really like it, you want to embed it or adopt it into your classroom, Premium is really the best way to go. It allows you to save and share an unlimited number of documents. You have unlimited access to any document that's shared with you, including all of the documents in the MapleLearn gallery, and you can use as many context operations as you want. So Premium is definitely, I would encourage you to take a closer look at it. We have different licensing options, and Max can talk to you all about it. in terms of a campus account, a classroom, a premium account, or even individual account. So feel free to talk to us about that. But really go in, play with Maple Learn. Like I said, the basic version is there. It's open, it's completely free. There is no difference between the basic version and premium. The difference in terms of functionality, I should say, the difference really is there's some limits in terms of daily limits on some of the things that you can do.